Okay, we are going to hear from Kaloma Cardwell. Kaloma is one of the representatives for Building 10, and he's going to take us through the ULURP process. The ULURP process has not started yet. That's why we're trying to get a lot of work done before they do. The ULURP is the process that developers have to go through when they want to attempt the rezoning of a property. And it's a time thing, it has a schedule, and it's really important that people know the steps along the way, and then we can talk about what we will be doing along those steps. So, Kaloma.
So again, my name is Kaloma Cardwell, Terrace. Hello? Yes. Okay. My name is Kaloma Cardwell, I live in Terrace. I first moved to New York in 2011. I've been living at Lenox Terrace since 2014. I'm also an attorney, few disclaimers, I don't practice housing law. So some of you might have more expertise on these issues than I do. But I will walk you through this process so that we can do two things. One, so that we can increase our understanding of the process itself, and two, so that we can improve our ability to talk about the process with our neighbors and other residents in this community. Why? This issue isn't going anywhere. And I know I'm preaching to the choir because folks are here because we're actually in the church, so for all purposes, you actually are the choir today. But part of our challenge has been that people, and I'll get to this further in a second, people don't understand that there are decision makers in the process. And so I'm sure some of you have been talking about this to your neighbors, and one thing they might have said was, oh, there's nothing that can be done. Or they might say, well, the city is going to do what they want to do. And I want you to leave tonight being able to say more than just the city is going to do whatever it's going to do. Because if you're saying that, you're not telling the person who would they have to target in order to stop it. How do you stop the city? I mean, that sounds so big and impossible to address. And so I just want to go through a couple of myths while I'm describing the ULURP process so that, again, we can increase our understanding of the process and get better at empowering people to actually do something. So, 4 myths. The first is that rezoning and housing policy has nothing to do with race and racism. So you hear a lot of politicians talk about it as if it's just the market making the decision or landlords making the decision. The game chess, you know chess has black and white players. That has nothing to do with race or racism. The fact that there's a white player and a black player doesn't impact the outcome. It's not connected to anything. Housing and rezoning is absolutely connected to race and racism. Because housing and rezoning is connected to education, transportation, the medical facilities, the air quality, a variety of other services that you can't separate from historical events, many of which have been connected to race and racism. Myth number 2, so I won't go any further on that. Myth number 2, the rezoning is inevitable. And as I'm walking through the process, you'll see why that's not the case and who the key players are. The third, we're powerless, neighbors, tenants. That's a myth that I'll address in my description. And the fourth, which I'll come back to, is that all we need is support. It's a myth that all we need is support, and I'll explain that again. So, rezoning. The City Planning Commission is in charge of voting on rezoning changes. The City Planning Commission is made up of 13 members. 7 of those members are appointed by the mayor. So that's a majority. So if you're thinking about this process and you're trying to figure out, well, is a rezoning is going to pass? One way that you can kind of figure out where things are heading is by having an idea of where does the mayor stand on rezoning. How is the mayor talking about rezoning? Is he describing it as something that always improves people's life outcomes, always improves affordable housing? Or is the mayor taking a nuanced approach and saying, well, rezonings could be beneficial, they could also, or they could lead to displacement. So you want to watch how the mayor thinks about rezoning, because 7 out of the 13 of the folks in the City Planning Commission were appointed by the mayor. You have 5 more who are appointed by the borough presidents. Same thing. It's important to understand where borough presidents are on just generally issues related to housing and rezoning. And then that 13th vote comes from the person who was appointed by the borough advocate. So City Planning Commission, 13 votes. Keep that in mind. We're currently at the stage where an application has already been submitted for rezoning. Typically, it either comes from the city or the landowner. It can come from residents, but as everyone here knows, most residents don't have the time, resources, or skill set to submit such an application. So it comes from the city, the landlord, it came from our landlord. They're now in the process of doing the environmental impact review, which is a process where they look at a number of social structures to figure out how is the community going to be impacted. A lot of these things you've already been talking about in one-on-one conversations with the folks who attended the scoping hearing, at the scoping hearing where you're saying, hey, this is how this rezoning is going to impact my life. So all the things that you've already been talking about, the City Planning Commission is supposed to be studying those things in a serious way in this impact review stage. Once they certify that statement, we then are going to go into what's called the ULURP process. ULURP stands for Uniform Land Use Review Procedure. That's a mouthful, so I'll just say ULURP. It might come up as ULURP or anything close to that, but you know what I'm talking about? ULURP. It's kind of hard to say 5 times, but if you want to try right now, you can go ahead and do it. But once we get into that process, there are 2 main phases. The first is an advisory phase. The second is a voting phase. So for the advisory phase, which comes before the voting phase, and again, we haven't reached this point yet, you have the community board, and you have the borough president. Both of those offices or entities are going to make a recommendation. It's just a recommendation. The City Planning Commission, the other players that I get to right now, they don't have to adhere to it. So arguably, the community board, the borough president are arguably the weakest decision makers in this entire process. That doesn't mean they don't have value, but compared to the other folks, they only have a recommendation. You and I and our neighbors have the ability to impact the advisory stage. The first opportunity relates to the community board's recommendation. There will be a public hearing around the time of that when the community board is thinking about making their decision. You typically have about 60 days to make some type of recommendation. The recommendation can either be yes with modifications, or no with modifications. So there'll be an opportunity for us to re-engage and to communicate what we want to happen. Similarly, the Manhattan Borough's President's Office will make a recommendation. Once the community board makes a recommendation, there'll be 30 or so days for her and her office to do an assessment. They can do the same 3 things: yes with modifications, no with modifications. And then enters the voting stage. And this is the critical stage where we have people who have been elected to represent us, who actually have to make a decision on whether or not they're going to represent us and our children and our children's children. the first elected office to have a chance to vote is the City Planning Commission itself. Same thing, they can say no, and if they say no, it's pretty much dead right there. They can say yes with modifications. Typically, they say yes with modifications. For a number of reasons, one of which is because if you have the city council that could make a vote after you have the mayor that could make a vote after you, typically the City Planning Commission doesn't want to be the one to make that final decision. So almost always, almost regardless of how terrible the actual rezoning proposal is, they almost always say yes with modifications. So if they say yes and yes with modifications, it then goes to, one thing, there'll be a public hearing at the time that the City Planning Commission is making the vote. If they say yes and yes with modifications, and then it goes to the City Council. There will also be another public hearing, right? So there are opportunities throughout this process for the public to have their voice heard. When it gets to the City Council, they have to make a vote. Typically, when the City Council person in the jurisdiction that the rezoning is going to impact, typically, if that City Council person says no, typically the other City Council persons vote the same way. Some of you are nodding your heads because I think you know that's how it's been killed in the past, or you just been talking about that same thing in the past. In this session, people in the City Council have already signaled that there's a chance that they're not going to follow that precedent. So they're already signaling, even if the City Council person in this area, for example, says no, they might still look to see if there's value to the project that would lead them to vote yes. So either the City Council votes no, kind of shuts it down right there, or they vote yes with modifications. But to be clear, the rezoning proposal can be killed at this stage. So it's important to understand when it can be killed. It can be killed at the City Planning Commission stage, it can be killed at the City Council stage. If they say yes, or yes with modification, usually it's kind of tough to undo at that point, because the mayor is, one, already appointed people to that City Planning Commission, so they've already made decisions to move it forward. Two, you now have a City Council that's saying this is in the best interest of the community, and just for our particular context, we already have a mayor who is talking very much about trying to increase the number of affordable housing units. Whether or not they're actually affordable, whether or not people are displaced, you can already get an understanding of how he's thinking about these things. But technically, the mayor could vote no, right? If City Council says yes, or yes with modifications, the mayor technically could say no. If he says no, it then goes back to the City Council, and they have an opportunity to override that decision. So it's a lot of information. The main takeaways from that is there's an advisory stage, there's a voting stage. At every stage, we should be trying to increase the amount of people who are paying attention to this and speaking out against this, because you have those public hearings, because you have elected people who, even if they're 100% in favor of the rezoning, it poses problems if there's a community that's raising a word that I won't say in church. Right, so there's opportunities for us to not only engage, but to actually stop it. So that second myth that this is inevitable, it's just not true. No rezoning, no gentrification that takes place along these lines just happens. It happens because people are creating policy and making decisions. And I'll move quickly, and that pretty much encapsulates ULURP process. The fourth thing that I'll say is that the fourth myth, all we need is support. So I said earlier that I'm a lawyer, and if I was representing you, contract agreements, some other issues, if you came to me and I just said, hey, I support you, you would look at me like I was crazy. You would want me to explain what did I do to help you. So that same scenario applies to everyone in this room, and it applies to the people we live with, and it applies to the elected officials. We need people to not just support us. We need people to work to get this stopped. So when you're listening to people, especially elected officials who are talking about this, skip past the part where they say they support us, and listen to see if they're telling you what they're going to do to stop this. So that's really the process. We can stop this. And if we don't, it's important for us to improve our ability to think about this stuff, because it's going to keep happening to people who look like us. We cannot win this issue. Thank you.
Thank you so much.